I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. Guessing.
Lori, do you love Chad?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I love you, babe. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I love you, babe. Good morning, people. StreamYard, hold on. Oh my God. Good morning, people. Okay. StreamYard was over 30 seconds behind. Craziness. So hopefully today the stream goes better and doesn't buffer. So yesterday was a long day. I don't know how people can do like over 4-hour lives. Because I did Chad's trial, the Apple River, and then Kohlberger came up with the motions meeting. Anyway, so yesterday, all that happened yesterday was opening arguments and one detective witness. That's it. Which the state is still has on the stand. Defense hasn't been up yet. So yeah, there's that. So we'll also be keeping an eye on this because the jury's, hold on. We'll be watching this when there's a verdict. Hopefully there's a verdict today of the Apple River stabbing. So the judge said yesterday on the Daybell case that wanted the jury there at 8 and they were going to start at 8:30. I doubt it. I mean, at least they have this ready, right? And this is what they were talking about yesterday. It's hard because the way they have the camera set, you can't really see what's going on. So this is what they're talking about. This is East Idaho News, of course. They were talking about Chad's property and when they found the kids. So yeah, this is sad. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I don't have the sound on because it's just a chopper sound. That is his backyard, not the pasture. Look at how close it is to the road. That's crazy. Oh my God. I think maybe Nate was a little nervous there. But hey, at least it's on video, right? And I found out because I'm like watching it, wondering why they're just showing pictures of like the audio with Lori coming to Lori's house and all that. I was wondering why they don't have body cam because I said that'd be a lot easier for the jury to understand actually instead of photographs to find out. Okay, patrol officers have body cam and the detectives don't, or they only have one body cam for every 7 officers? Allegedly. That's what they said. So I found that hard to, it don't make sense. Maybe is Rexburg a tiny town? I don't know. I just don't understand none of this. Hmm. Crazy. Well, update we have from yesterday. Look at all the law enforcement there, you guys. Could you imagine how hard that'd be on these officers and how they knew something was foul here? They tried the best they could for, such a small law enforcement. How did they think they weren't going to get found or caught? I don't understand this. Does he really think he's a true prophet? Okay. Okay, hold on. We will go look at what Nate said yesterday. See if you did a video. Okay, let's watch this.
Good morning, everybody. It's Nate Eaton here. We are outside the Ada County Courthouse, where in about an hour from now, opening statements will begin in the Chad Daybell case. I should say a little over an hour because the jury will first be sworn in. They'll be read instructions, and that can take some time. And then the prosecutors and the defense will offer their opening statements. You can see that it's a little busier than it's been the past few days out here at the courthouse. Jury selection, things were a little slower, but if we pan over here, you can see there's a lot of media from all over the national networks here, as well as local networks and other cameras. And then there's people up there who are in line who are here early. The courthouse doors open at 8 o'clock. They want a seat inside that courtroom. You had to make a reservation if you wanted to go into the courtroom today, and those reservations filled up in about a minute. But don't fear, because you can watch the hearing, you can watch the trial, the entire trial on eastidahonews.com. The court is allowing a live stream with their equipment and their cameras, so we'll have every minute for you that the judge allows, and you can watch it from home. You don't have to come and sit out here or stand out here in the line to get inside. So this is a trial that we've been waiting for over 4 years now. This story all broke, of course, in December of 2019, and here we are, finally. Chad Daybell will be doing the trial. So that's what we have planned for today. 8:30 is when the actual hearing starts. They'll be swearing in of the jury, and then they will have their opening statements, and then there'll likely be a break, and then witnesses will take the stand. We should hear from our first witnesses today, see some of the evidence as it goes. Court will dismiss around 3:30 Mountain Time. That gives the jurors time to go home, decompress. They are brought in from an off-site. They don't drive here themselves. They meet somewhere, and they're all brought in a secure location and whatnot. So that is what is happening today. Again, we've got why don't we walk up and talk to some of these people, Jordan? People that are obviously standing in line, and they have to say what brought them out here. Great. How are you? Good. How are you? What time did you get here this morning? 7. 7? All of you? 7?
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
And what brought you out here?
Interesting. I'm really interested in watching the opening statements. I feel like the prosecution is going to maybe be very similar to Lori's, but I'm really interested in the defense and what John Pryor has to say and how much he has to say. And hi, Nate.
Hi, where are you from?
El Dorado Hills, California.
Did you fly in for this?
I did not fly in for this, but I arranged my trip to
be around.
Yes.
Is this the only day you're coming?
I don't know. We'll see how interesting it is today.
Could be interesting. Good to meet you.
Nice to
And
meet
how
you.
about you? Where are you from?
I'm from Caldwell, just a little outskirt of Boise.
And what brought you out here?
I'm here to support Larry and Kay. I met them yesterday, and they gave me bracelets, and they're very friendly, and I'm just here to support them.
Do you plan to come to more days of the trial?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're hiding. I know we won't get you on camera, but I remember you. You came last. Did you all come last year at all?
No, I listened to it.
Okay, so you came. And what brought you back here this year?
I want to see John Pryor. I want to see how he puts on a defense. Lori had no defense. I remember he wasn't much before, but
Right.
I'm really interested to see how Pryor handles it.
How many days did you come last year? A lot. Are you planning to do that again?
I probably not as many. I have been through. My friend is hiding there.
Nice. And you all were lucky enough to get a ticket because they went fast. They got the reservation. Well, good. Thank you for chatting with us. So, there's a bunch of different families as far as why people are here. We have to when we film, we have to go down here. So I'm not being rude and leaving you. We're gonna look out here. So that's kind of the thought today. A lot of people coming out of California. We had people at Lori Vallows trial from Australia who came all the way from Australia.
You know what?
I think this is sort of like the first day of a first round of a boxing match. I think the first one that throws the punch gets the bloody nose. At this point is the way the fight's going to go. And I think this is the way the trial's going to go. So I'm anxious to see the opening arguments, and I'm anxious to see how the defense is going to position themselves to prove that Chad had nothing to do with this. And I'm anxious to hear all of the evidence that the prosecution brings. So I think it's going to be a great day. It's a beautiful day in Boise. And thanks, everybody, and God bless.
What did you think of the opening statements?
I thought Rob was just right on. I thought it was just hit all the points and in order because it's a little confusing. And so to have that laid out like that, I think is really going to help the jury, in their mind, get it together. Other than that, I thought he did great.
And you said you were a little surprised when John Pryor went through the witness list.
I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, it made me sad.
Why is that?
Yeah, because he kind of laid out what they were going to testify to. And Tammy had been to, her folks' home and was doing awesome. So I'm interested in seeing what they say. I don't want to I shouldn't say I'm disappointed yet, because I really do just want to hear them. Because, they're my family and I love them. So, yeah. But I was surprised.
Any other takeaways from this morning?
Detective Hermosillo is always very succinct, and I enjoy hearing what he has to say, getting a little bit of a refresher. But it's emotional time for us, so we just just kind of are wanting things to be presented correctly and honestly, and just want justice in the end. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
So sad.
Recordings just got better.
So sad.
Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard.
So sad, you guys. Hi, Reed. I don't know how to say your name. Yes. Can you see how much weight Larry has lost? That is sad. There you go. What's going on here? There we go. They are in the courtroom. Um, what did you guys think of what happened yesterday? It's so quiet. So I'm shocked that Chad's kids are going to testify about their mother being sick, her health. What is going on here?
All rise.
There we go.
The jury is present and accounted for.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailey. Please be seated. All right, good morning, everyone. We're back on the record on case CR 22-21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. This is the second day of introduction of evidence in the state's case in chief. Although the state is here and present, Mr. Wood was conducting examination of a witness. Mr. Wood, is the state ready to proceed this morning?
Yes, sir.
There will also note the defense is present along with counsel and the defendant. The court also notes the jurors are all properly seated and all 18 jurors have returned. The court's also confirmed that the jurors each completed their affirmation this morning regarding not looking into the case during the break. And so we appreciate you following that admonishment as well. One other matter I just wanted to bring up before we got started with additional evidence is the court's live streaming this hearing and this trial. There is a I heard there were some complaints that the audio maybe wasn't coming through very well on that. I'd ask the attorneys if they could to talk right into the mics. Of course, that helps as well with our court reporter making the record. In addition, the live stream comes directly through the court's official channel. That can be somewhat difficult to find if you go to the Idaho Supreme Court website. However, there is a website on Ada County about this trial, and if you just Google the term Ada County Daybell trial, there's an easy link to find for the court's official live stream, and that's the most direct signal. So for those that are observing the trial online, if you're having any issues with audio or quality of the signal, perhaps you could go to that direct signal, which is the best source of the live stream proceeding. So with that, then we had Detective Hermosillo was on the stand yesterday, and I believe he was continuing direct examination. Is that correct, Mr. Wood?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll have the witness recalled then if you're ready to proceed with additional testimony.
Thank you.
All right, Detective Hermosillo was sworn in yesterday. I'll remind you, you are still under oath for your testimony today. And to confirm, not being the state's case agent, I just want to confirm that you didn't review any, well, you're the first witness, so we don't need to do that on this particular witness. So, Mr. Wood, if you'd like to just inquire on further direct, you can do that at this time.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Detective. Second, when we finished off yesterday, we were discussing what you had found or what you had observed at a burial site, and just for purposes of the jury, what site were you at when you found the body you were speaking of yesterday?
We were at the site that we deemed JJ's burial site.
And where, Your Honor, if I could be given State's Exhibit 10A. And if I may publish that?
Yes, it's admitted, correct?
Yes.
So,
Detective, if you could, just for purposes of clarification, with a pointer, point out the location you were speaking of.
It's the burial site on the other side of this pond, just underneath this tree.
Okay. Now, you call it a pond when you were out there on June 9th. Was there water in it?
No, there wasn't.
And again, just to clarify, when we had left off your testimony yesterday, is it correct that you had, what you observed was what appeared to be a small body wrapped up in a black plastic bag?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibits 10B through 10M. Detective, can you review those exhibits and let me know when you got a chance to? Detective, do you recognize state's exhibits 10B through 10M?
Yes.
What do they purport to be?
Photographs, there's a photograph of the west side of the defendant Daybell's residence. And photographs of the backyard.
And do you know when these photographs were taken?
On June 9th, 2020.
Were you the photographer?
No,
But you were on the property that day.
that's correct.
And were you able to observe each of the areas that are photographed in these exhibits?
Yes,
You saw them with your own eyes.
yes,
And are these true and accurate representations of what you observed on June 9th, 2020?
yes.
Your Honor, I move for admission of state's exhibits 10B through 10M.
Any objection?
Judge, just to,
Into the microphone, please, Mr. Pryor.
I'm sorry, Judge. Judge, just one here on 10B if I could. Otherwise, I'm fine with the rest of the exhibits.
Okay, so let's do that then. So 10C through 10M have been offered or admitted, and Mr. Pryor, you can board there in 10B.
And officer, you're looking at 10B, is that right?
Yes,
For
sir.
now.
Yes,
And the vehicle that's parked in 10B, is that the vehicle that was the position of the vehicle at the time that you testified about Mr. Daybell?
that's not the vehicle that Mr. Daybell was in. That one.
Do you know what vehicle that is?
The driveway looks like a Subaru.
Okay, is that the driveway that you're making reference to?
That's correct.
So in other words, somebody else's vehicle is there. We don't know whose vehicle that is,
It's not the one that Mr. Daybell was in. No.
but you don't know whose vehicle that is.
I don't know whose vehicle that is.
You don't know when the vehicle was put there.
No, sir.
You don't know who the owner of the vehicle is.
That's correct.
I would object, Judge, on foundation.
All right, Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective. So you don't know whose vehicle that is, correct?
Correct.
You were still there that day. Okay. Do you recognize this as Mr. Daybell's residence?
Yes, I do.
And this is a true and accurate representation of Mr. Daybell's residence.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I think significant or sufficient foundation has been laid.
All right,
Judge, I just make a record that I'm objecting also on the basis of relevance. It looks like it's a picture of a vehicle in the driveway.
okay. Well, the picture shows many things, including a vehicle. I'll allow the state to have this admitted, and sufficient foundation's been established, so 10B is admitted as well as the others.
Detective, if you will, or Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Detective, what did you observe in State's Exhibit 10B?
That is the west side of the Daybell residence. When I testified earlier to coming out and standing in the lawn area,
Okay, I just thought I would play this aerial footage because we can't see nothing. Okay. Oh, I just thought I would play this aerial. Echo. Sorry, guys. Because it's so hard. We can't see anything. Crazy. Sidebar. Sidebar. I don't think we'll ever understand this. No many. It's more common than we think. People doing this to kids or anybody, and you never get. There's a lot to it, anyways. But why? I don't get it. Thank you for being here, Amanda, and I'm glad you finally got on YouTube. And thank you for telling me about OJ. OJ died, people. Are we sad? I had no idea he had cancer. I wonder what kind it was. Maybe I should have read into it more, but yeah. Oh no. We are buffering. Am I on mute? Okay, I'm unmuted. Because earlier I was muted. Nope, not sad. Karma was slow on that one. Oh, yes. For sure. Hey, he was even shocked that they found him not guilty.
Joy, you can continue.
Thank you. Detective, can you explain to the jury what you observed in State's Exhibit 10J?
So once we started removing the wet soil, and I testified earlier to a black round object protruding through the dirt, this is what we started to see. It appeared to be like tight wrapped black plastic. It wasn't very too far underneath. It's fairly shallow, but that's what we started to see. And I talked about what appeared to be the crown of a human head.
Can you describe what you saw in State's Exhibit 10K?
So once that appeared, the ERT team leader Steve Daniels used a small, sharp instrument. And I testified that he made a slit through the black plastic. And you can see the black plastic kind of peeled away on the top of the head. And then I testified there was a white piece of plastic underneath. And this is the white piece of plastic here. He made a slit in the white plastic. And when he did that, you can see what appeared to be brown human hair. Some of the hair kind of came out with the sharp instrument, and that's the hair you can see on top of the white plastic. But that's what we're looking at there.
Roger, what you observed in States Exhibit 10L.
Once the ERT team continued excavating, they removed all the soil on top of this small body that was wrapped in completely black plastic. I testified that it appeared to take the shape of a small body black plastic. And this is what we saw here. It's probably a 4x2, or even I'm guessing at those measurements. But it started to take the shape of a small body, and then it had different pieces of duct tape throughout the black plastic on top.
What did you observe in States Exhibit 10M?
Once we lifted JJ out of the ground, there was still wet soil underneath where he was laying. And that's body decomposition. The body had begun to break down. So that's what the wet soil is through here. Again, you can see the roots that were cut to be able to put him in this location.
Are you kidding me? We're going to go to 5 different people, which each exhibit? Is that what we're doing? No.
Detective, once that body was recovered, what did you do? And to clarify that question, once that body was taken out of the ground, what did you do?
I assisted the coroner and a few other officers in placing JJ in a body bag, a black body bag. The coroner locked the body bag for evidence. We then put it in the back of the coroner's vehicle. The coroner and a Fremont County deputy drove the vehicle up to the morgue, and myself and Lieutenant Rockwell followed behind that vehicle. Once we were at the morgue, JJ was placed in the morgue, and then we returned back to the Daybell residence.
Do you recall who the Fremont County coroner was?
Brenda Dye.
And do you recall what other officers traveled with you to the hospital?
In my vehicle was just Lieutenant Ron Ball with the coroner, Brenda Dye, I believe it was Detective Kaiman.
And just for clarification, you had said this already, I apologize, but what hospital did you take him to?
Madison Memorial Hospital.
And where is that located?
In the city of Rexburg.
Once you finished that task, what was the next step for your investigation?
We returned back to the Daybell residence. As we got there, we were told that they had possibly.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. There's some hearsay.
I'll ask another question. Without telling the jury what anyone told you, what did you do when you got back to the residence?
We assisted in a second burial site.
And when you got back to the residence, did you observe another burial site being looked at?
I did.
Where was that located?
So through the course of our investigation, we learned that the Daybell family had deemed a section of the backyard as what they referred to as a pet cemetery. And we knew through talking to family members that the pet cemetery had a little black dog statue next to a post that kind of signified where the pet cemetery was. And so when I returned back from dropping JJ off at the morgue, I observed ERT digging in the pet cemetery area.
And did you aid in that excavation?
I did.
What did you personally do?
ERT began taking off top layers of soil in this specific area in the pet cemetery. Once they began to again see wet soil start to protrude through the dry soil, they slowed down, and we got on our hands and knees and began excavating that by hand.
And by hand, did you use tools to do that?
We did. They had small tools that we could use, trowels, like paintbrushes, things of that nature.
Approximately what time of day was this?
Say it was afternoon.
And approximately how many people were there with you using hand tools?
There was only a few of us at a time that could work because of the area, but also because of the smell. We had to take turns digging because we were on our hands and knees, and the smell was so bad that you could only work for a few minutes before somebody else had to take turns, get on their hands and knees and start digging by hand.
And you said the smell, what did it smell like?
Decomposing body.
How long did you aid in that excavation using the hand tools?
Hours, probably.
And did you find anything?
We did. We ended up digging down and started to uncover burnt pieces of flesh, charred bone, fatty tissue. Just, and I apologize for the lack of better words, but globs of burnt flesh starting to protrude through the dirt.
And once you found that, how long did you keep working that site that day?
We worked probably until probably 4-ish in the afternoon.
And you mentioned ERT. Were they working there alongside you?
They were. There was also other areas being excavated as well, the fire pit still. So everybody was kind of tasked with something different at that point. And once we started getting down a little bit more in Ty Lee's burial site, we assumed it was Ty Lee, we could start to see the top of what appeared to be something plastic and green. And at that point, the ERT team leader, Steve Daniels, decided we were done for the evening.
When you were done for the evening, what happened?
We had Fremont County Sheriff's Office, the Madison County Fire Department, bring in 2 large light trucks to illuminate the crime scene. The crime scene was taped off. We had officers from Rexburg City Police, deputies from Fremont County Sheriff's Office that remained on scene all night long, walking the perimeter to make sure that the scene wasn't compromised. And it was well illuminated.
And did you return the next day?
Yes, we did.
And when you returned the next day, who else returned?
Everybody that was there the previous day.
So ERT came back.
That's correct, yes.
And other members of the FBI,
Yes,
Fremont County officers,
yes.
Rexburg police officers.
Correct.
And I believe you testified earlier that there were some Attorney General investigators there as well.
Yes,
And they were all there that second day.
that's correct.
Approximately what time did you arrive that second day?
We started fairly early. It was approximately 7 in the morning.
And what did you start doing when you got there on the second day?
I went back to Tylee's burial site. We had put up canopies to keep sunlight and wind. There was media, helicopters flying overhead, so we wanted to keep the scene from being compromised as much as we possibly could. And at that point, we got back down on our hands and knees and began digging again with those same little tools to get down to see what exactly we were going to take out the ground at that point.
And and then what happened next? Did you continue to do that work?
Like I said, we would take turns digging because the smell was so bad. And we would just keep excavating slowly around this green object that started to come through the dirt the first day. So it started to take a shape, a roundish shape, when we began digging down and methodically removing dirt. And at that point, we could start to see what appeared to be the shape of a green melted bucket that appeared to have the remains of, we assume, were Tylee that were charred and burned inside it.
And were you there for the excavation of that bucket?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Once we got down to what we thought was the bottom of the disformed bucket, we observed part of a human skull underneath the bucket. There was some teeth that we ended up excavating from underneath. At that point, the goal was to lift that out of the ground. And so there was we made kind of a little hole around it to try to get underneath. So we put tarps out. Like I said, the goal was to try to lift it completely out without manipulating it in any way. But when we tried to do that, when we lifted it, it all broke apart because there was nothing holding it together. So at that point, we had to go back in and remove all the pieces of the charred flesh and burnt bone and organs and pieces of Tylee that put onto the tarp.
And while you were doing that, you talked about the smell. Is that still present?
Yes, very much so. Strong odor, yes.
Were you able to observe the lack of a better word, total removal of of that green bucket and its contents from that excavation site?
We were able to lift everything out at that point. We put it on the blue tarp. There were photographs taken, measurements taken by ERT. Once that was completed, we dug down even further to make sure we didn't miss anything. Once we figured out everything was out of the ground, that tarp and those and Tylee's remains were then put into a body bag. In the corner again, lock the body bag for evidence purposes. And Tylee was also transported to the morgue.
And did you follow along when Tyler was transferred to the morgue like you did with JJ?
We did. We followed in the same manner. Myself and Lieutenant Ball. Once Tyler was placed in the morgue, we returned back to the Daybell residence.
Your Honor, I'm going to be asked that the witness be handed State's Exhibits 11A through 11G.
And Judge, for the record, I've previously reviewed these and I would object to admission of these as exhibits.
All right, exhibits 11A through 11G are admitted without objection. This time, as we get into this evidence, I'm going to announce that because of the graphic nature of some of this evidence, I'm not going to be showing this on the court's live stream, nor to the general public in the courtroom. The jurors will be viewing the evidence as well as the parties are permitted to see that. In addition, the court will provide an opportunity for any victims that wish to see the evidence in a private setting to view it as it's now been admitted into the record. But we made arrangements to not display this to the general public. And so, Mr. Wood, with these exhibits, that's how we'll proceed. And we will not include that on the live stream, but you can discuss it on the record in open public with the witness.
Detective, can you review that exhibit, those exhibits? And Your Honor, I understand these are already admitted. I am still ask a few foundational questions just to establish knowledge.
Very well.
For the record. Detective, what do those, what does State's Exhibit 11 report to be? And its subparts?
Photograph of pet cemetery and photographs of Tylee as we took her out of the ground in her burial site.
And were these photographs taken on June 9 and 10?
That's correct, yes.
And were you on the scene that day when those photographs were taken?
Yes.
Are they true and accurate representations of what you saw?
Yes.
Your Honor, those exhibits having been admitted, I'd ask to publish.
You can do both.
Detective, before I publish that, I'm going to place State's Exhibit 10A up again. And can you point to the general location of what you've described as the pet cemetery?
Right here.
So can you have on the record and explain where it's pointing?
Yes, Detective, will you explain where you're pointing?
It's just east of this shop area and just north of the fire pit. So it's right through here.
And Your Honor, I do think that the state's first picture under State's Exhibit 11 is okay for public consumption.
It is. I just wanted to make sure our system was working as well, but Exhibit 11A is fine.
Detective, what did you observe in State's Exhibit 11A?
This is where we began excavating briefly. As you can see in this photograph, there's a small black dog statue next to the post. So that's where we had learned this was the pet cemetery area through talking to family members. And then there's just some tarps laid out for some of the soil. You can see in the back the markers that had been distinguished and laid out by ERT for the fire pit area that I talked about earlier.
And Your Honor, I think at this point it's appropriate to turn to public access.
I agree.
Detective, Your Honor, I'm at a bit of a, I have no idea if this is, I can't see if this, well, I'll ask Detective, can you see that image in your monitor?
Yes.
Can you see most of it?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury what's been marked as State's Exhibit 11B? What did you observe there?
Can I see? Is there a way I can use the pointer?
I have a suggestion also, Mr. Wood, just because I understand what you're doing to try to line that up since you can't see the monitor. Do you want to set a notepad or something on there to get it oriented, and you could set on top of that just so that it's lined up?
And if I could have the screen for 1 moment, thank you, Your Honor, for that suggestion. Detective, what did you observe in State's Exhibit 11B?
It's hard to describe that pointer, but I'll do my best. In the middle of that photograph, you can start to see the different color and the changes in the soil from dry to a wet, moist dirt. You start to see to the left just a little bit of that area. You can see the white piece sticking out and it's burnt on top, and that's charred bone that's starting to stick out, and all the little pieces next to it are pieces of burnt flesh, tissue, where we later determined were organs that were all kind of, that's the top of what was inside the bucket. So that's what we first started to see when we started to excavate.
And at this point, were you still using the hand tools?
Yes.
You explained for the jury what you observed in State's Exhibit 11C.
So as we started to excavate down further, some of the top of the mass of burnt flesh wasn't really attached to anything. And so when we would start to dig away towards the sides, it would kind of come apart. It wasn't part of that original mass. And so what you're looking at on this blue tarp is burnt flesh still attached to some bone. The upper left part of that section that you're looking at is part of the hip bone, but it still has burnt flesh attached to it, and then dirt and just fatty burnt tissue.
You described to the jury what you observed in State's Exhibit 11D.
So when I talked about it started to take a roundish shape, this is what I'm referring to. And we dug around the sides of it, trying to get to the bottom, because like I said, the goal was to get underneath, have 3 or 4 guys in there and just lift it onto the tarp. So that's what you're looking at in this photograph, is just the burnt flesh. It's still just kind of inside that.
And Judge, could we approach for a sidebar, please?
Yes.
Well, of course it's a sidebar. So, this is sad. I can't imagine how these officers felt. I want to know who did the actual. I want to be careful with my words. Yeah, sidebar. And you know what? I'm going to show it later. He got these ideas. Chad did. Because remember, he's a prophet, a true prophet. Why isn't the world ended yet, Chad? I was here for it. It didn't end. I wonder how many people are in that courtroom. I guess with Lori's, there was so much, there was another room that they watched from there. I'm hoping we'll get more information about Chad and his part. What is going on? They're so slow. I mean, come on. The jury's gonna not pay attention after a while, you know what I mean?
And that's part of the human skull just to the right of that, the green bucket. There were teeth there in the dirt as well. But that's what you're looking at, it's just a close up of the bottom of it.
Detective, what can you explain for the jury what you observed in State's Exhibit 11F?
So once we removed that mass, and put it on the blue tarp, there was still some wet soil underneath. So we dug down even further to make sure that we had excavated everything we needed. And so what you're looking at, you can see the tarps in the background we had put up. You can see some of the hand tools that we used just to the right of that hole. But that's what you're looking at, is just after we got that mass out, the wet soil.
Detective, what did you observe in State's Exhibit 11G?
So these were part of a Tiley that kind of broke apart when we tried to lift it out of the ground. There's pieces of charred bone. There's parts of a skull on the bottom left, covered in dirt, and they're still burnt, rotting flesh still attached to the bone. So that's what you're looking at that one. These were the pieces that broke off.
Detective, I believe you testified that you assisted in transferring those remains to Madison County to the hospital, correct?
Correct, I followed behind in the corner.
Was Lieutenant Ball with you again?
He was.
Once you got up to the hospital, what did you do?
We observed the Fremont County coroner bred to die, transfer Tiley's remains into the morgue. The morgue was unlocked, but there was evidence they put up. And at that point, myself and Lieutenant Ball went back to the defendant Daybell's residence.
And what did you do when you got back there?
We assisted and made sure there were no other burial sites or anything that the ERT team needed assistance with. At that point, we decided that we were going to take JJ and Tiley to the Ada County Coroner's Office to have an autopsy performed. So roughly 4 in the afternoon on June 10th, 2020, it was decided that we were going to follow the county coroner with the remains of JJ and Tiley to the Ada County Coroner's Office for an autopsy the next morning.
And when did you arrive in Ada County approximately?
Approximately 8 or 9 in the evening on June 10th.
And what did you do once you got there?
We went directly to the coroner's office, and JJ and Tylee were dropped off, and the coroner's office took custody of both JJ and Tylee.
So that was later in the evening.
Correct.
And was an autopsy performed that night?
No.
When was the autopsy?
The
Judge, I'm gonna object. There needs to be some accommodation.
Overruled, if you know, you can answer.
The autopsy was performed June 11th, early morning hours.
That was the next day.
Correct.
And were you present for that?
Yes, I was.
And where did that autopsy take place?
At the Ada County Coroner's Office.
So when you arrived at the coroner's office, what did you do first?
Initially, when we arrived, we had a little debrief with the medical examiner, Garth Warren. He told us what he expected.
Judge, objection.
Grounds.
Hearsay.
Same.
You met with Dr. Ward.
Correct.
What was the purpose of that meeting?
To debrief us on what to expect that morning.
What did you do next?
We went to the room where the autopsy was performed. Put the sanitary booties on our shoes, signed in on a whiteboard with our name and cell phone numbers. So he had a record of everybody that was in the room. And at that point, we stood back. Against the wall and observed the autopsy.
Now, as a detective, you don't perform an autopsy, correct?
Correct.
But you were able to see it take place.
That's correct.
And what did you observe happening during that autopsy?
One of his team members brought out the body bag. And I recognized it to be the same body bag that we took from defendant Daybell's backyard that day because it still had dirt on it. It still had the same lock. And at that point, they opened the body bag and revealed the same black plastic and small body that appeared to be in the black plastic.
And then what did you observe?
Dr. Warren and his team cut down the middle of the black plastic to open up what was inside. At that time, I observed a small child with duct tape on his head from his chin to his forehead area, tightly wrapped around his head. He had red pajama pants on, red pajama shirt. He had his arms folded this way across his body. And there was duct tape from elbow all the way around to his other elbow. He had his ankles also bound with duct tape. He was still wearing his nighttime pull-up diaper. He had black socks with the word Skechers in orange. I could tell that he was going through various states of decomposition based on his skin color.
Judge, I'm going to object.
Grounds.
He doesn't have the experience to make a determination about the levels of decomposition. He's speculating.
I'll sustain the objection and strike the final part of the answer about decomposition, Mr. Williams.
Right. Detective, what did the body's skin look like?
The skin was sloughing. It appeared to be bluish green, black, yellow. And through my training experience, going through and handling different dead bodies at different stages of decomposition, that's what I read.
Judge, I'm gonna object again. There's been no foundation for him to make that sort of medical assessment. He's not a medical doctor.
Your Honor, my argument would be that's not a medical assessment. It makes it on his training experience.
I'll overrule the objection. If you'd like to cross further, you'll have a chance, Mr. Pryor. The objection is overruled. Foundation laid in the previous response.
Detective, once this, the body was taken out of the bag and you made the observations that you've just described, what happened next?
Dr. Warren and his team then cut the white plastic that was wrapped around his head and duct tape. They cut down the middle to reveal what was underneath. And at that point, I observed another piece of duct tape stretched from JJ's jawline to jawline over his mouth. He also cut the several layers of duct tape from his arms, and it revealed some more duct tape that had his wrist bound underneath all those layers of duct tape. He then took his bottom pajamas off and shirt, and it also revealed the nighttime pull-up diaper he was still wearing.
Now, Detective, you spoke about the duct tape and bag over the head, correct?
Correct.
And you've been referring to this as JJ.
Yes.
Until that duct tape and bag were removed, though, were you able to identify him as JJ?
No, once they removed the duct tape in the bag, through looking at all the photographs for the last 8 months of JJ, I recognized him to be the same little boy laying on that table as JJ Vallow. He had the same hairstyle, shorter on the sides, longer on top. At that point, I recognized him as JJ.
Once the clothing was removed, what did you observe happen next?
Dr. Warren pointed out some bruising on his arms, on his ankles, on his chest. He also pointed out some scratch marks on the left side of his neck, just under the duct tape. At that point, Dr. Warren and his team performed the autopsy.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be shown state's exhibits 12A through 12B.
A through B.
E.
B, thank you.
Detective, can you review those exhibits for me when you've had a chance to?
Good.
Do you recognize State's Exhibits 12A through E?
Yes,
What do they purport to be?
JJ Bell laying on the table after they opened the black plastic.
And were you present when those pictures were taken?
Yes,
You were in the same room.
Right.
Are those true and accurate representations of what you observed that day?
yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that State's Exhibits 12A through E be entered into evidence.
No objection, Judge.
Very well. 12A through E are admitted. All of these are graphic in nature, will not be published or shown on the court's live feed or to the public in the courtroom. They'll be published to the jurors, however you wish to split.
Thank you. Detective, can you describe to the jury what you observed in State's Exhibit 12A?
Once they removed the black plastic that JJ Vallow was in, this is the first thing we saw. You can see on the white plastic on top of his head. That's the slit that was made when his head was sticking out of the ground. You can see the duct tape I testified to wrapped around his entire face. His red pajamas are still soaked with body decomposition. The level of duct tape on his arms is what really caught my attention. And he still has he has a white and blue child blanket wrapped around him.
Can you describe to the jury what you observed in State's Exhibit 12B?
This is the JJ's legs, his bottom half, he has his red pajama pants on still. His ankles, like I testified, are wrapped with duct tape. Those are his black Skechers socks that he had on. It's hard to see there too, but his legs and body are also soaked with decomposition.
Can you describe to the jury what you saw in State's Exhibit 12C?
When I spoke earlier that Dr. Warren cut down the white plastic and the duct tape that was covering his head, this is what we saw. You can see the other layer of duct tape around his mouth that went from jawline to jawline. You can see his hair, brown hair, still was matted down to his head. Wet, so with body decomposition. But at that point, I was able to still recognize him as JJ Vallow.
You observed in 12D.
That's the white bag that was covering his head. It looks like blood in the bag. It's actually body decomposition, just breaking down. It appeared to be a normal trash bag. It had a red drawstring. And you can see, if you look close at the waffle style pattern, the expandable type trash bag. There's still pieces of duct tape that are attached. That's what that photograph depicts.
Can you describe to the jury what you saw in 12B?
That's just another photo of JJ. The tape is starting to lose its stickiness because of the way the body is. It's just a different photo or a different angle of JJ's face.
Okay, I have a recite our council.
That's awful. I don't understand why Pryor keeps objecting. I know, right? Flesh on bones. Burnt. I hope he's looking at that. Just hearing it just makes it so much worse. You know what I mean? I don't get it.
Bit earlier than normal, but we are going to take a mid-morning recess at this time. We'll reconvene here about slightly before 10:30. To get started with additional testimony.
All rise, please.
Do you guys want to see how I feel?
You are not allowed to put that.
Oh. What's going on there? They muted it. Do you guys want to see, in my opinion, where I think he got the idea for zombies and what they did? You want to see it? I'm excited to see my two friends today. Oh, neat. That's exciting. Okay, I'll go to it. I gotta look through my videos. Hold on, it won't take me long. Okay. Playlist. What did I do with it? View. I'm looking. Time to worry up. Let's see. Oh. Okay, keep talking, you guys. I'm still looking. I got so many videos. Hold on. Hold on. I'm sorry for the silence. I'm still looking. Let's just get some music on. Until then, I'll play this first.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed.
All right. Oh, no, why can't I find it? Okay. Okay, I found it. I found it. Oh, that's loud. Hold on, I'm going to get to it. Prepare yourself. Here we go. We'll watch this and then we'll talk about it. This is a movie. Chad's sidekick, when he would go on speaking events, and Jason Mao introduced Lori and Chad.
You two doing any drinking tonight?
What?
Any illegal drugs?
My daughter was taken from my home tonight.
You lost her out there. You lost her!
They're all gone. All the kids in the town are gone. Damn it, Dale! I need your help! It won't let you have it. Nobody's coming for us, are they?
Whoever did this to Joey didn't want to kill her. They don't want her to talk.
Joey!
You can't do this for yourself.
My daughter is very sick. I'm gonna see her again.
Oh my God! Go, go, go! Hey, through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Lord Jesus, as you sacrifice. This is day 15. Second to last day of shooting. We're shooting a couple scenes.
What do you guys think of that? Let's see. Here's Jason. Jason Mao. He worked on the set.
A lot of things, a lot of factors that can come into play. The Cavender kids are amazing. Those are some really, really good actors. I've seen them do some unbelievably.
Okay. So yeah, there's that. I know it is. What's you guys' opinion on that? Do you think you got some ideas from that? Right? What else can we look at? Hold on a minute. Okay, let me look at the Apple River one real quick. Is there a verdict yet? Hold on. Oh my God, yes. Hold on, you guys. There's a verdict. Hold on. There's a verdict.
They can then ask for the verdict forms. There's all this drama. The paperwork is handed from the foreperson, who you then learn
There's
who
a
the
verdict.
foreperson is, because they're the one holding the verdict forms.
Come on,
Hand
come
them
on,
over
come
to a deputy or a clerk, who then hands them up to the judge, who reads them for a moment, and
Oh,
it feels like
I'm
hours
ready.
for you to get through all of that. It's a very tense time.
Come
I
on.
know we're going into total speculation mode, but I've covered enough trials. The consensus typically is if it's short, right, it favors the defense. I'd have to agree here, right? If it's full self-defense, then it probably we get unanimous consent that he's not guilty on every count.
Right.
Otherwise, otherwise you start nitpicking, like, oh, you know, was it intentional? Was it reckless? What degree of it? I would think then if we're starting to debate other counts, then it comes out of black and white and becomes a whole bunch of gray, and the jury would take a while. That's just my gut. Your thoughts on again, 6 hours, which is sort of on the shorter end of a deliberation for a case like this, in my opinion.
Yeah, excellent gut reaction by you, Paul, because that is true. If they really wanted to burrow down on each separate victim and each separate set of charges, that can take an awful lot of time. That's why I would speculate that I think they made some big global decisions, like maybe all of the, either like I said, self-defense and everything were done, or maybe it's not homicide and it's just the reckless homicide charges. There's a big way to cut your workload in half in moments. Or like you said, or maybe you know what, this is all BS. The guy should have walked away, and the defense is BS, and we're just convicting him of everything, and let's go to lunch.
And we just now got official word from our courthouse comms that there is a verdict that is to be read in 10 or 15 minutes. So confirmed verdict. We can run the bulletin on our screen. It is 11:05 Central Time. There is a verdict in the Nikolai.
Each of the 6 counts.
Yes, we did.
Okay, please hand the verdict forms to the bailiff.
Go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm nervous, you guys.
Verdicts read as follows. As to count 1 of the information, Isaac Schumann, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree reckless homicide as submitted.
Yes!
Question, did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 2 of the information, Alexander Martin, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 3 of the information, Dante Carlson, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 4 of the information, Anthony Carlson, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 5 of the information, Riley Madison, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 6 of the information, Madison Cohen, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of battery as charged. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. Members of the jury, I do have to verify that this is in fact a unanimous verdict. So I'm going to ask each of you if I correctly read the verdict and if you agree with it.
So when I call your name, if you agree with the verdict that I read, please answer by saying yes. If you disagree with the verdict, you can answer by saying no. Ms. Navarro, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Cook, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Snell, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Pelzel, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Diedrich, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. McMahon, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yeah.
Mr. Henderlong, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Ashland, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Lewandowski, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Any additional polling? No? All right. It is a unanimous verdict. Members of the jury, your service in this case is completed. You are free to read accounts about this trial. You are free to talk about this case with anyone. However, you do not have to discuss this case with anybody or answer any questions about this case other than from the court. So this includes the parties, the lawyers, the media, or anybody else. If you do decide to discuss this case with anyone, please treat any such discussion with a degree of solemnity, such that whatever you would say, you'd be willing to say in front of your fellow jurors or here in open court. It is in the public interest that there be the utmost freedom of debate in the jury room, and that jurors be permitted to express their views without fear of incurring the anger of any litigants or the public. For that reason, please respect the privacy of the views of your fellow jurors. If you do decide to speak, please only speak for yourselves and not for anybody else. On behalf of my colleagues, Judges Needham, Vlack, and Nordstrand, along with my courtroom staff, thank you for your participation in this important case. Court is now adjourned. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
Please be seated. Based on the unanimous verdict, I will enter convictions on each of the 6 counts. Bail is revoked. Mr. Mew will be held in custody pending sentencing. My staff will contact the attorneys and will schedule the sentencing date. I will order a pre-sentence investigation report, but we can do the scheduling at a later time. Is there anything else, Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Schroffesi?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Court is adjourned.
Folks, if anybody on this side of the courtroom could please exit, anybody on this side, please stay.
Yes.
Hello.
And good morning again. I am Paul Bloom, Fox 9 News, here as we approach 11:15 Central Time in our Fox 9 live streaming center. And that there is the camera going off on your screen. This case is now closed.
Okay. I want to see his peoples come into my chat right now. Listen to me. His peoples. Come on. You've been in and out of here. See, you know what did him in, right? Okay. His interrogation, his interview, his own words, his lies. Yep. Oh, jeez. That is so awesome, you guys. What do you think? People talk to me. Headline bitch, come in here. I want to talk to you. Don't worry. Headline good. She's my good friend, people. Just so you know. Now what? Judge didn't say when there was going to be sentencing. I'm feeling that justice will be served. Oh, yes. Amazing. Have to schedule a sentencing, he said. Just a waiting game. Sorry, defense, but Nick ain't going home. Was he out on bail? I thought he was in custody. Because I did look. See, this is the first case ever, because they say innocent until proven guilty. And I've always been true to that, except for this case. Whew. What are you saying, Grandma? What do you mean? Should we watch it again? Listen to me. Should we watch it again? I know. I'm confused too, because he said he's going to revoke the bail. Because I looked on the website and he was it said he was in custody. I don't know. Okay, let's go there. Hold on. I'll watch it one more time. Hold on. Let me fix the... Okay, guys, here we go. Let's watch it again.
To the left, on the other side of Aaron Nelson, left side of his defense attorney, the jury is coming in. A verdict has been reached. We should hear Nikolai Miu's fate in mere moments.
All right, please be seated. All right, we are back in session on the record in state of Wisconsin versus Nikolai Miu. The attorneys are present with Mr. Miu. 12 jurors are in the courtroom. Mr. Ashland, I understand you are the foreperson.
Correct.
Did your jury reach a verdict?
Yeah.
Did you reach a verdict on each of the 6 counts?
Yes, we did.
Okay, please hand the verdict forms to the bailiff. The verdicts read as follows. As to count 1 of the information, Isaac Schumann, the jury finds Nikolai Miu guilty of first-degree reckless homicide as submitted. Question, did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 2 of the information, Alexander Martin, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 3 of the information, Dante Carlson, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 4 of the information, Anthony Carlson, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 5 of the information, Riley Madison, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as submitted. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. As to count 6 of the information, Madison Cohen, the jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of battery as charged. Did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. Members of the jury, I do have to verify that this is in fact a unanimous verdict. So I'm going to ask each of you if I correctly read the verdict and if you agree with it. So when I call your name, if you agree with the verdict that I read, please answer by saying yes. If you disagree with the verdict, you can answer by saying no. Ms. Navarro, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Cook, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Snell, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Pelzel, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Diedrich, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. McMahon, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yeah.
Mr. Henderlong, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Mr. Ashland, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Ms. Lewandowski, do you agree with the verdict that I read?
Yes.
Any additional polling? No? All right. It is a unanimous verdict. Members of the jury, your service in this case is completed. You are free to read accounts about this trial. You are free to talk about this case with anyone. However, you do not have to discuss this case with anybody or answer any questions about this case other than from the court. So this includes the parties, the lawyers, the media, or anybody else. If you do decide to discuss this case with anyone, please treat any such discussion with a degree of solemnity, such that whatever you would say, you'd be willing to say in front of your fellow jurors or here in open court. It is in the public interest that there be the utmost freedom of debate in the jury room, and that jurors be permitted to express their views without fear of incurring the anger of any litigants or the public. For that reason, please respect the privacy of the views of your fellow jurors. If you do decide to speak, please only speak for yourselves and not for anybody else. On behalf of my colleagues, Judges Needham, Vlack, and Nordstrand, along with my courtroom staff, thank you for your participation in this important case. Court is now adjourned. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
Oh, that's too bad. Oh. Oh. Should have walked away, dude. You did this to yourself.
Please be seated. Based on the unanimous verdict, I will enter convictions on each of the 6 counts. Bail is revoked. Mr. Mew will be held in custody pending sentencing.
Wow.
My staff will contact the attorneys and will schedule the sentencing date. I will order a pre-sentence investigation report, but we can do the scheduling at a later time. Is there anything else, Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Schroffesi? All right. Thank you, everyone. Court is adjourned.
Amazing job. He put himself there. Oh my God, these poor families. I don't know, man. I just gave me goosebumps. Now, oh, what's going on here? Hold on. Let's get back to Chad. All right, and make sure everything was right. Um, this comment here. Let me see. Let me see. About the civil suit. Yes, they can. Remember we went over documents? And I want to go through more documents about this man. Him and his wife got divorced. She filed for divorce 319. By 329, 10 days, you guys, 10 days, it was granted. Everything that was his, he gave it to her. The court did not know the divorce was final until during trial. How sad is that? He gave everything to her. Not a problem. Nick announced he had a night. Yes. You know it would have. Look at how freaked out they got. Look at, what's his name? Starts with the E. His friend. He seen the knife and he backed up. And was screaming he had a knife. Well, I know what his peoples are going to do. They're going to go on attack like they have been doing for a week now. And we never attacked them, did we, Grandma? Here we go.
Thank you. Please be seated. Council, if you're ready, we'll have the jurors brought back in.
What's going on here? Why is there no sound? That ain't me, you guys. It's them.
All rise.
Okay.
Jury is present, County Captain report.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Please be seated. We're back on the record then on case CR 22-21-1623, just concluded the morning recess. Detective Colonel CEO is still under oath, and Mr. Wood, if you'd like to continue with your direct, you can do that at this time.
Detective, I think when we left off, we were speaking about the autopsy of J.J. Bell, correct?
Correct.
You had mentioned earlier that you did observe the actual, not only the body, but then the autopsy of J.J. Bell.
That's correct.
And were you present for that entire autopsy?
Yes, I was.
And when that autopsy was concluded, what did you do?
At that time, Dr. Warren and his team removed JJ from that autopsy table. They then brought out a second, excuse me, black body bag, and I recognized it to be the same body bag from the scene because it also had dirt. And they placed that body bag on the table.
And what did you observe next?
Dr. Warren and his team opened the body bag, looked at the remains for what was left as far as remains inside. He stated there was nothing he could do at that time with an autopsy. So
Judge, I'm going to move to strike as hearsay.
Your own statement already came in.
And I'm going to move to strike.
So,
would you repeat the question?
What did you observe? What were you had just talked about the tonnage remains being brought out. What did you observe?
Once the remains were brought out, Dr. Warren opened the bag and looked at the remains and stated there was nothing he could do at that point. So at that time, we left the autopsy room for the day.
And when you left, did you do anything in furtherance of your investigation that day?
No.
Did you return to the Ada County Coroner's office the next day?
We did. On June 12th, 2020, we went back to the Ada County Coroner's office. At that point, Lieutenant Ball took custody of some of the evidence and we transported it to the state lab in Meridian.
And were you with Lieutenant Ball when you did that?
I was, yes.
And once you took it to the state lab, what did you do?
Those items were checked into the state lab. And then that concluded what we did for that day.
Detective, you spoke earlier about some of the other agencies you've worked with in this investigation. And is it correct you work with Fremont County?
Correct. Yes.
And I believe you testified that your primary focus in this investigation was looking for Tylee and JJ. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Was there an investigation in Fremont County at the same time that had connections to your investigation?
Yes, there was.
What was that investigation?
Fremont was investigating the death of Tammy Daybell, who was married to the defendant, Chad Daybell. Kind of the exact same time we were doing our investigation with missing children.
And would you meet with Fremont County and discuss the cases together?
Yes, we would.
And would you aid each other in those investigations?
Yes,
Would you share information?
yes.
Detective, are you aware of any event involving Tammy Daybell on October 9th, 2019?
Yes, I am.
How did you become aware of that event?
Through the course of sharing information with the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. We were advised.
Judge, can we approach?
Yes.
What is he objecting to now? Oh.
I want to have the court reporter, if we could, read back Mr. Wood's previous question before the sidebar, and then I'll see if there's an objection held by defense.
Question, how did you become aware of that event?
Is there an objection to that, Mr. Pryor?
No, not to that question.
Okay, then Mr. Wood, just proceed with another question.
I don't think there's no objection to the question. I don't think it's been answered yet.
Okay. You can answer.
We were advised through the course of our investigation that.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. The question is whether he was advised, not what he was advised of, but whether he was advised.
Our response, Mr. Wood?
Not quite sure I understand that objection, Your Honor.
I don't as well, so you can continue with your response.
Can you repeat the question, please?
How did you become aware of the events of October 9th, 2019?
Through the course of our investigation, we were aware of those events through speaking with Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
Why was it important to you in investigating your case to share information and receive information from Fremont County?
It was important because the suspects in that case were the exact same suspects in our case. And so we wanted to make sure that we shared information so nothing was missed. At that point, we were still looking for two small children. And so it was imperative to us that we shared information and gathered information from neighboring counties and anybody that was involved with this case.
And did you also confer with Arizona law enforcement?
We did, yes.
Detective, are you aware of who Charles Vallow was?
Yes.
Who was he?
Charles Vallow was married to Lori Vallow.
Is he alive?
No, he is not.
Do you know when he died?
Charles died July 11th, 2019.
Are you aware of how he died?
Charles was shot by Alex Cox, Lori's brother.
Now, you testified earlier that your initial involvement in this case involved looking for a Jeep.
That's correct.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you testified that you were looking for that Jeep because it was requested by Arizona law enforcement.
That's correct, yes.
And are you aware of why they were looking for that Jeep?
Yes, I am.
Why were they looking for that Jeep?
That Jeep was a suspect in an attempted homicide of Brendan Boudreaux, who was married to Lori's niece, Melanie Boudreaux. The suspect in that homicide was also Alex Cox.
Detective, going back to October 9th, 2019 in Tammy Daybell, are you aware of the incident that took place with Tammy Daybell?
Yes, I am.
What was it?
Judge, I'm going to object. There's no foundation as to how you became aware of it.
Sustained.
Through your investigation, did you become aware of what happened to Tammy Daybell?
Yes, I did.
And how did you become aware of that information?
Sharing information with Fremont County.
And so was this part of the collective knowledge of the case that you were working?
That's correct, yes.
And did you aid in that investigation as well?
I did.
So you personally became aware of these events?
Correct.
Based on your knowledge and your investigation, are you aware of any event involving Tammy Daybell on October 9th, 2018?
Judge, again, there hasn't been proper foundation.
I think at this point I've established that it's through his investigation and knowledge.
This objection is overruled.
You can answer the question.
Yes, I'm aware.
And what was that event?
On October 9th, 2019, Tammy Daybell believes that she was shot at in the driveway of the defendant Daybell's residence.
And when you say shot at, are you aware of how she thought she was shot at?
She initially reported that it was possibly a paintball gun.
Detective, in your investigation, did you ever put together timelines of events that took place?
Yes, I did.
Why is it important to do that?
Just to establish who the key figures were and the key dates to aid in our investigation, so we can make sure that we share the accurate and correct information with the other agencies.
And in preparing for this trial, did you prepare any charts of key figures to aid the jury in understanding your testimony and the testimony of the trial?
Yes, I did.
And was that based on your involvement in the case?
Yes.
And your investigation?
Correct.
And based on I'm sorry, that wasn't very well said. Based on the information you gained from your investigation?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 30. Detective, do you have State's Exhibit 30 in your hand?
Yes, I do.
What does it purport to be?
Those are the key figures that I put together as far as the investigation goes, photographs.
And did you do that to aid this jury in understanding who the people involved in this case are?
Yes.
And did you do that in anticipation of your testimony?
Yes, I did.
Right. And are those the pictures attached with those names? Are those true and accurate representations of of the individuals attached to those names?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes only, the state would move to enter State's Exhibit 30 into evidence.
Any objection?
For demonstrative purposes, no.
Very well. Exhibit 30 is ordered for that reason.
May I publish?
Yes.
Detective, if you can just use your pointer and just, for purposes of the record, read the names attached with each picture.
Sure. This is Lori Vallow Daybell, Charles Vallow, Alex Cox, who's Lori's brother, Chad Daybell, Tammy Daybell, his deceased wife, Tylee Ryan, who is daughter to Lori, JJ Vallow, who's a son to Lori, and Melanie Pulowski Boudreaux, she was remarried, is the niece to Lori Vallow.
Now, when you say that JJ was Lori Vallow Daybell's son, was he also Charles Vallow's son?
Yes, he was.
And that was by way of adoption, correct?
That's correct.
And so Alex Cox was JJ and Tylee's uncle.
Yes.
Detective, similar to that last chart, did you prepare a timeline in anticipation of your testimony?
Yes, I did.
And did you do that based on your experience and knowledge of the case?
Yes, I did.
And it was based on information you gained through your investigation?
That's correct.
And did you do that to aid the jurors in understanding just the basic timeline of the events that happened in this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask the witness be handed State's Exhibit 31.
Judge, could we approach please with sidebar?
Yes.
What's going on? This is crazy.
This time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there's an evidentiary issue to resolve, which we are going to take up outside of the presence of the jury. We'll do that as quickly as we can. So I will be off the bench while I research this momentarily. Then we'll come back on and make a ruling outside of the jury's presence, bring them back in to evidence.
All rise, please.
Oh, right? This is crazy, you guys. That guy's a marshal. That guy that takes exhibits to each person or 5 people, he's a marshal. That's interesting.
Maybe soon.
Oh my God. I'm sorry for the silence.
They call me a god. 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 Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed.
Yep, that just happened. Let's watch this. Lori comes in and out of the courthouse.
What message do you have for the world, Lori? I know you can hear me.
Never heard.
I am such a dork. Ugh.
Lori, do you love Chad?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I love you, babe.
So there's that, people. What do you think about that? Come on. You gotta be laughing. I laugh at myself. Yes, I love doing Lori. My alter ego. And her Betty. La, 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 la. Wow. That's funny. Tell her to watch the replay. What time is it there now? Oh, it's 6, 7 in the evening? Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to my channel. We're going to watch something when I find it. Oh, here it is. $6:07, huh? We're going to watch Nola. I'll do it 2 times.
Broke on the buck, it's Friday.
Isn't that funny? Oh, God. I do all this just for my entertainment, pretty much. Here we are, back to this. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. They're going to go to lunch. Going to get a 2-hour lunch break. Watch. Okay, where's the judge? Let me look. Okay, John's sitting there, Wood's sitting there. But the judge ain't there. This is interesting. What's going on? Oh, there's Larry. I see Larry. I put it on my TV so I could see. Larry's right here. I have no idea what's going on. Interesting. So we see right now I don't know where the judge is, but Johnny Boy, Chad are sitting here talking. Here's Wood with his head down looking at something. He's not doing much of anything. She's not doing nothing either. Chad's writing something down. I don't see her, but she could be next to Larry. Oh, is he? Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. See, you people catch things I don't. Where did the marshal go? The man that gets his steps in. He's going to lose some weight during this trial. Maybe it has to do with discovery of JJ and all that. I don't know. Okay. Shouldn't that been done before trial? You remember when Lori and Chad first got, charged? And the state goes, "We're ready to go, Your Honor." That was 4.5 years ago. Excuse me, 4 years ago. I'm wrong. That's what I thought too. Hey, what do I know? I'm not an attorney. See, like that trial we just watched, that Nikolai Mew, that trial was very interesting. Those attorneys were good, really good. The judge ran that courtroom like it should be ran. I was learning something new all the time in this trial. Yes, this trial. Yeah, that's weird. The objections. You could say what he's been doing is badgering the witnesses. Witness, only one witness. Okay, what can we do in the meantime? Hold on, let me look. Okay, you guys, I got what's his name people. Looky. I went to go look for videos on my channel, something to look at. Nick's people are coming. Look at that. I knew they'd be. Hold on, let me go to my channel. Ha 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 commented. It's a little bit too gangster to find him guilty. It will be overturned. Will it? Ha ha ha. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, let me look at your comments here. I gotta come back into StreamYard. Hold on. Yeah, right. And the judge told him that more than once. Okay. Seems like Pryor thinks he is running the show. I'm kind of shocked that he isn't as aggressive as he usually is. Right. What's gross? Well, the thing about it is, people in the Mormon faith are part of that. How weird is that? Who knows? You're right. I don't know. Oh, Jesus. Here we got some Gypsy Rose stuff. Hold on. No way. She filed for divorce. Let's look. People got to quit giving her attention. Even me right now, but I'm not reporting on this. Probably TMZ. Oh, yes, of course. Of course, you guys. Let's look. All right. TMZ. Gypsy Rose wants spousal support in divorce, says Ryan can afford it. She is a little demon. Oh, she's just like her mother. Sorry to say it, but this is all she knows how to do. And from things I have read from people that were in prison with her, that's what she does. Let's see. God, I can't believe, okay, my opinion on that marriage, she needed somebody to support her. And then she gets a guy like him. Yep. Let's see here. She's requesting alimony. She don't deserve alimony. She didn't have a prenup. I read that somewhere. She's asking the court to deny Ryan's spousal support from her end, arguing he's not entitled to it. See? That little demon? Well, I know. How scary is this? Hold on. Where is it? No, did I delete it? No, I lost it. Oh. Okay, that was creepy. What do you guys think about that? She's probably calling TMZ herself. Gypsy says Ryan is the one responsible for their dissolution of marriage. Therefore, she believes he's not entitled to any cash payments from her. She says she's dead set on divorce and intends to live separately from Ryan. Wow. She wants her maiden name back. She also wants the court to play out publicly. She don't want the case sealed. See? There you go. There you go. There you have it. That tells you about her. People got to quit giving her attention. And like I said, I am right now. TMZ needs to stop it. I don't think it'll ever happen, though. And there's her ex-fiance, Ken, who she hooked up with. Okay, enough of that. I'll look at comments in a minute. What's going on here? I don't know if you guys can hear me, but everything is frozen on my end. Hold on. What's going on? That was weird.
623
We are going to take up an objection outside of the presence of the jury as it relates to the state's proposed exhibit, in this case particularly state's proposed exhibit 31. And the court had to go back and review some prior rulings in the case that occurred some time ago. I've done that now, so what I'd like to go through is the proffer and determination if there's still a objection to the exhibit and make a ruling on that outside of the jury's presence. So Mr. Wood has offered exhibit 31, which is a timeline, and Mr. Pryor, does the defense maintain an objection to the admission of that timeline?
Judge, I spoke with Ms. Blake.
I spoke with Ms. Blake, and procedurally, I think at the time that the 404B was filed by the state, we were also dealing with the severance issue, is what I recall. And then she discussed that with me. So I think I may have made a non-objection to the 404B. And I think I made a record of that when Mr. Thomas and Mr. Archibald were objecting to that. So I may forego my objection because I think my recollection is I don't have a record of it, Judge, which is a little unusual, but I think I may have noted on the record to the court that I'm not objecting to the introduction of the 404B evidence.
All right, I understand. I think there was lodged an objection back February 14th of 2023 by you to the 404B motion. Is the state having clarification on that, Mr. Wood?
Your Honor, just based on recollection, I believe it was not an objection to all of the state's intended 404B, but to some of it. And my recollection, and I'm not looking at any document, this is just my recollection, was that the defendant did stipulate to some of the 404B, including issues dealing with Charles Fallow and Brandon Boudreaux. That's my recollection.
And Judge, my recollection is that I did file a timely objection, but then at the hearing, there was, and I'm going back, Judge, and we're talking 3 years ago. And I'm just going off of recollection as well, as Mr. Wood is. I believe that I filed an objection, and then at the time of the hearing, I may have orally stated that I'm not objecting to the introduction of the Brandon Boudreaux or the Charles Fallow information. And Mr. Thomas and Mr. Archibald continued theirs, and the hearing was continued on. And somewhere in the interim, Judge, there was a severance order granted. And I don't know whether I was part of the 404B motion. That's where I'm having some difficulty in recollection. My records don't show an order that you granted the 404B in this case, so I don't see an order in this case.
Okay, so just to clarify, there was an objection was filed on behalf of Mr. Daybell by Mr. Pryor, February 14th, 2023 to the 404B. We then had a hearing on the 404B evidence on February 22nd, 2023. The court then issued an oral ruling on the record, and in that oral ruling went through different evidence that was sought to be proffered under 404B. And among the rulings the court made on the court minutes under paragraph 9, specifically referencing consideration of the shooting at Mr. Boudreaux, the court weighed out the 404B arguments and found that it would be admissible at trial. And then in the hearing, I did indicate that I'd gone through the analysis for 404B, looking at the State versus Fox case, doing a two-tiered weighing of the factors, balancing them out with the evidence proffered, and ultimately and I'm looking at the transcript of this hearing where I made the oral ruling, determining finally, quote, the court does find there is relevance under tier 1, parts 1 and 2 for the introduction of that evidence. And then I looked at rule 403 to see if there was probative value to substantially outweigh the danger of unfair prejudice, and finally determined that as to the attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux, there would be more probative than unfairly prejudicial, as it would relate back to the purported plan of the defendants. So the court did find that the state was permitted to introduce that 404B evidence. So as we stand here, knowing procedurally that's the ruling, on the timeline, I guess I'll first come back to this proposed Exhibit 31 and ask if there's any objection at this point for the defense, Mr. Pryor.
No, Judge.
Okay, so Exhibit 31 then has been offered and will be admitted. I would also note on the record that I think the door has been open to discuss that anyway based on opening argument as well. But for that reason, and also based on the court's prior determination made, I am going to permit that reference on 404B evidence. The reason I'm still discussing this for counsel is I think this now triggers a requirement that I give a limiting instruction to the jurors about how 404B evidence is considered. And I do have prepared a limiting instruction that I am going to advise them of at such point as after your exhibit's been offered, Mr. Wood. Okay. Okay, thanks for the delay there. We can bring the jurors back in, please. This is, I don't know where the, I've got the actual.
And Judge, if I could just quickly inquire before the jury comes back in, if the court did have both pages of that in its.
I don't, I only have first page.
Okay, once we get done with this witness, I'll bring that up.
Okay.
All rise. Jury present and accounted for.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, apologies for that delay. We were working through an evidence issue. I will note that the state has offered Exhibit 31, which has now been admitted by the court. It's a timeline. It does make some references in there that, for me at this time, I think would be best to give the jurors a special limiting instruction. So I'll read this instruction to the jurors at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, during the course of this trial, evidence will be introduced for the purpose of showing that the defendant committed acts other than for which the defendant is on trial. Such evidence, if believed, is not to be considered by you to prove the defendant's character, or that the defendant has a disposition to commit crimes. Rather, such evidence may be considered by you only for the limited purpose of proving the defendant's motive, opportunity, intent, plan, or absence of mistake or accident. So that instruction provided, Mr. Wood, if you'd like to proceed with that exhibit you missed.
Your Honor, I don't have any exhibit.
Well, I believe the witness does.
May I publish?
Yes.
Just briefly before I do, Detective, before we took a break, we spoke about timeline you had prepared.
Correct.
And the reason you prepared that was to aid the jury in understanding the events of this case.
Yes.
If you can take your pointer and go through these events and just read them into the record.
July 11th, 2019, Charles Vallow dies. September 2nd through September 3rd, 2019, Lori, Alex, and the kids, JJ and Tyler, moved to Rexburg, Idaho. The last known proof of life for Tylee was September 8th, 2019. The last known proof of life for JJ was September 22nd, 2019. The attempted shooting at Brenton Boudreaux, Gilbert, Arizona, or attempted homicide, October 2nd, 2019. The attempted shooting of Tammy Daybell, October 9th, 2019. The death of Tammy Daybell, October 19th, 2019.
And if you'll continue on the second page.
November 1st, police receive a call about a Jeep. The Jeep was located November 4th, 2019. Chad and Lori get married in Hawaii, November 5th, 2019. Welfare check on JJ, November 26th, 2019, which is the same day Alex and Chad were contacted. The Rexburg Police Department searched Lori and Alex's apartments November 27th, 2019. Search warrant served on the Daybell residence was June 9th on 2020. JJ and Tyler were taken to the Ada County Coroner's office June 10th, 2020. And the autopsy was conducted June 11th of 2020. Thank you.
Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Pryor, cross-examination.
Judge, would the court like me to start, or would you like to take a break at the lunch break?
Let's go ahead and get started with cross and go till it was finished, please.
Good afternoon, all. Good morning, officer.
Good morning, sir.
We do know each other. We've at least exchanged pleasantries a couple of times.
Yes, sir.
In the past. And I guess for purposes of this hearing, would you prefer that I refer to you as lieutenant or officer?
Lieutenant's fine.
Mr. Pryor, I apologize very much for the interruption. I wanted to confirm something on that last exhibit. It was entered by the court. Is that a demonstrative exhibit?
That's what I understood.
Either as a demonstrative or a summary.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Apologies for the interruption.
Judge, I'm also looking for the, oh, I found it. So Lieutenant, you've been involved in a number of aspects in regards to this case, right?
That's correct.
You've done some investigation on your own in terms of welfare check with Lori Vallon, is that right?
Yes.
But you've also interviewed a number of witnesses, is that correct?
Yes.
You interviewed Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, right?
Yes.
Several times?
Few times.
And you've interviewed a number of other witnesses as it relates to this case, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, now you previously discussed your role as a police officer and investigator in this case. And I guess I want to clarify something if you could, please. As a police officer investigating a case, your role is to conduct an investigation, right? Look at the facts.
Correct.
Try to establish and gain some information, right?
Correct.
But you're not supposed to judge one way or the other, right? You're supposed to remain neutral.
That's correct.
And you're not supposed to narrow that role as a police officer to a particular person. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In other words, you're supposed to look at the evidence as a whole. And rather than focusing on one person and saying, we're going to assume this person did this, and we're going to build our case around prosecuting that person, that would be inappropriate, wouldn't it? Right. Your role is actually to look at all the evidence, consider all the evidence. And once you've gathered all the evidence that you think is relevant to a case, what do you do with that evidence?
We follow the evidence.
Okay. And then once you follow the evidence, you've established a report or you've come to concluding your investigation, what do you do with that evidence that you've concluded with?
We put a case together.
Okay, and then do you provide it to someone?
We provide it to the prosecutors.
Okay, so there's distinct roles as part of a criminal case. You'd agree with that, right?
Yes.
And your role is to conduct an investigation, correct?
Correct.
Look into all possible evidence of any kind, correct?
Correct.
And view the evidence, right?
Yes.
Not make any determination as to what that evidence means, but rather gather as much evidence as you think is relevant in your mind and put together a compilation of that evidence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then at that point, only at that point, do you provide it to the prosecuting attorney and they make a determination as to whether or not they will pursue charges against them. Do you understand? Is that the way you understand the process is supposed to work?
Yes.
Okay. And if you were not to follow that process, if you were not to follow what I just described, that wouldn't be appropriate. There's protocols. You agree with that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you should never blend the roles of a police officer with the role of a prosecuting attorney. You would agree with that, right?
Explain what you mean by blend the roles.
Well, I mean, it's not a prosecutor's role to show up at an investigation when you're conducting an investigation and engage in part of the process of interviewing witnesses. You'd agree with that, right?
I've had prosecutors show up to certain investigations.
Okay, but that's not the norm, is it?
I think it depends on the investigation.
Okay, okay. So in other words, you think that it's appropriate that if a prosecutor is deciding whether to pursue charges against somebody, that they should also participate in the interviewing of these witnesses as part of that process. Is that what you're telling me?
I think it's important for a prosecutor to have all the information.
Well, doesn't that create a problem in your mind?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, let me talk to you a little bit about that. Because if you're doing an investigation and you're really remaining neutral as part of that investigation, right? You're not supposed to make judgments, correct?
Correct.
You're supposed to look at the evidence, gather all the evidence, and then make a determination of what evidence you want to submit to a prosecuting attorney, right?
Correct.
Do you ever get involved in The process of deciding whether someone should be charged or not?
What do you mean by that, sir?
Well, after the evidence is all gathered, and after you've done your report as a police officer and put together all of the information, do you ever go over to the prosecutor's office and say, you know what, I put this evidence together, and you know what, I want to have a discussion with you about whether or not we want to charge this person? That wouldn't be appropriate, would it?
I'm gonna object as argumentative.
Sustained.
Okay. But would it be appropriate for a prosecutor to interview witnesses and inject their personal opinion in those processes of interviewing witnesses? Would that be proper under any circumstances?
And I'm gonna object as argumentative.
I'll overrule that objection.
And could you repeat the question again?
Yes. But would it be appropriate for a prosecutor to interview witnesses and inject their personal opinion in those processes of interviewing witnesses? Would that be proper under the circumstances?
To interject their personal opinion?
Yeah.
I would say probably not.
Okay. So if you're engaging in name calling or making references to a person's character in a case, that would clearly be an inappropriate act, would it not?
Objection beyond the scope, Your Honor.
That's sustained, and that's facts, not evidence.
Right. Okay. Now, you spoke a little bit about this body cam issue. And you said that it was a policy that there's only one body cam among 7 or 10 of you as detectives. Is that right?
No, sir, I never once said it was policy. I just said there was only one body cam.
Oh, so
7 detectives.
So in other words, you share a body cam. It's not a policy within the department.
Correct.
Okay, is there a policy in the department about recording or trying to preserve a record when you're interviewing witnesses?
Yes.
Okay, what's that policy, sir?
When we conduct interviews in the police department,
Yeah.
those interviews are recorded.
Okay. Now, what about if you're out in the field and you're conducting an interview? Is that to be recorded as well?
There's no policy that says it has to be recorded.
Okay. Do you carry a microphone as well, officer, other than a body cam?
No, not on my person, I don't.
Okay. Do you carry a cell phone while you're doing that? That's issued by the county.
Do I keep the cell phone in my car? Yes.
I didn't ask you that. I said, do you carry a cell phone when you go out in the field?
On my person or in my vehicle?
Either one.
In my vehicle.
Okay. And does that cell phone have the technology that allows you to record or photograph and videotape images?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So what I understand is on November 26, 2019, you were directed your folks to go out to the Lori Vallow residence. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you said that you were with Ron Ball. Is that who you said you were with?
At one time, yes, I was with a couple different officers that day.
Oh, so tell me who you were with on that day. Remind me.
Detective Dave Holt.
Okay.
Detective David Stubbs.
Okay.
And Lieutenant Ron Ball.
So there were 4 of you who went out there to locate or to find out some information about what again? Remind me.
About the whereabouts of J.J. Vallow.
Okay, and this was a concern that you had because you were contacted by another law enforcement agency expressing concern about the safety of a young child, right?
No, sir.
Okay, tell me what was the purpose?
It was a simple welfare check.
Okay. And you went out on this welfare check and there were, if my map is correct, please correct me. Did all 4 of you detectives and lieutenants go out at the same time?
No, sir.
You went out at different times.
Myself and Dave Hope went out initially.
Okay, and then when did the other 2 officers show up?
When I called them based on the lies that I had been told.
Okay. And these lies that you've been told, at that point, you and Detective Hope, neither of you decided to bring a video camera. right?
That's correct.
And neither of you decided to wear a recorder to record any of the incidents that took place about these so-called lies, right?
That's correct.
And nobody took out their phone and recorded it or made a video or audio recording of the discussion with Mr. Daybell or Mr. Cox on November 26, 2019, right?
That's correct.
And even after you said these so-called lies, even after you discovered that, Mr. Daybell apparently told you something that you didn't think was true, at that point, did you instruct any of the officers who were coming to aid you? Maybe it's a good idea we should bring an audio with, or a video camera with us, or a mic to record some of these statements, because I have some concerns. Did you think about that?
We did that, sir.
Hold on.
I'm going that there was an objection and sustaining the objection. So, strike the answer. You can ask another question, Mr. Pryor.
And it was Detective Stubbs who had the video cam, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
And that was when you video cammed Miss Vallow, about when you had contact eventually with Miss Vallow, is that what the video camera that you're talking about?
I didn't have contact with Miss Vallow.
Now, I'm a little confused about something. And maybe you can clear this up. You said that you asked Mr. Daybell first about whether he had Lori Vallow's phone number, correct?
No. No, sir, I didn't contact Mr. Daybell till after I contacted Alex.
Okay. At some point, did you ask for Lori Vallow's phone number from Mr. Daybell?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And at no point did you ever make a threat to him saying you're going to turn this phone number over to us, right?
No, sir.
At no point did any other officer walk up to him and say, if you don't turn this phone number over, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. That never took place to your knowledge, right?
That's correct.
Okay. But then after that, you're saying, at first he said, I'm not going to give you the phone number. And then out of the blue, he decides to give you the phone number.
Objection misstates the facts and evidence.
Okay, then subsequent to that, he
Hold on,
decides.
Mr. Pryor. When there's an objection, I'm gonna rule on it before you launch into another question. So the objection is sustained.
Subsequent to that, he decides to give you the phone number. Is that right?
Can you repeat the question, please?
I'll go back over the analysis here.
Thank you.
Your testimony is that Mr. Daybell refused to give you the phone number at first, correct?
That's correct.
And that was an adamant refusal. He said, no, I don't know what her phone number is, right?
That's correct.
And then without any further prompting by the police officers or any encouragement by law enforcement, he shows back up and gives you the phone number later, right?
Objection, he's misstating the facts and the
Well,
evidence.
I'm trying to establish the facts, Judge.
The objection's overruled. If the witness has an answer, he may answer.
You say he showed back up. He never left when I originally asked him.
Okay,
I had to ask him twice to get the phone number.
okay. And how much time passed between the first request and the second request?
Roughly a minute.
Okay. So without any prompting by the police, he asked him for the phone number. He denied, and then within 60 seconds, he said, oh, here's the phone number. Is that what your testimony is?
When Detective Hope started walking towards us and I re-asked him again, that's when he gave me the number.
So you had to ask him twice. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Now I'm gonna kind of bounce around a little bit, okay? Please bear with me, okay? You made a comment about supposed paintball guns, and if I misquote your testimony, please correct me, okay? You said something about a supposed paintball gun incident with Tammy Daybell, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
then you later on decided that it was the words you used were a shooting. Is that the words you used?
Probably.
Well, you were just here testifying a few minutes ago, and just used the word shooting when Mr. Wood talked to you about that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as part of your investigation, you've had a chance to look at all the evidence, right? In this case, you got access to almost all the evidence in this case,
That's
right?
correct.
And have you gone through all the evidence in this case?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and did you look at evidence of facts and circumstances surrounding the Tammy Daybell incident on October 9th?
Yes.
Okay. And Judge, just bear with me.
Your Honor, if he's going to be showing evidence digitally, you'll put our screen back up.
Yeah.
Not sure I'm going to be up there, but okay. Now, I would represent to you that we previously stipulated to the admission of a number of exhibits in this case. And one of the exhibits is exhibit number 16. Okay? And the parties that previously exhibited, Judge, we've already moved it, it's already been exhibited. So what I'm going to do is show you exhibit 16. Okay?
And this is one already admitted.
It's already been admitted, Judge, previously. Now, you talked about facts, and you used the word shooting is what you used, right? From Tammy Daybell?
Correct.
And you don't believe that Tammy Daybell was shot at with anything other than a paintball gun, do you?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled. You don't believe that Tammy Daybell was shot with anything other than a paintball gun, do you?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay, and what do you base that on?
The evidence through our investigation.
Okay. And part of your investigation is did you look at the Tammy Daybell evidence that she provided to your office?
To my office or Fremont County?
Fremont County.
I did.
Okay. And one of the pieces of evidence is exhibit number 16. Judge, I don't see it going on.
All right, counsel, if you'd like, we can take a lunch break or we can keep moving on here for a minute.
Here we are, Judge.
Okay.
Okay, and officer, I'd have you turn to the screen and see if you can read the screen. Just read it. Not out loud. Just to yourself. Let me know when you're done.
I'm done, sir.
Okay. And I would represent to you that this is a email from Tammy Daybell to her friends in the Salem 3rd Ward of her church. Okay? And would you start with the word something and read the email to me?
Something really weird just happened. I want you to know so you can watch out. I'd gotten home and parked in our front driveway. As I was getting stuff out of the back seat, a guy wearing a ski mask suddenly standing at the back of my car with a paintball gun. He shot at me several times, although I don't think it was loaded. I yelled for Chad and he ran around the back of the house. I have no idea what his motive was, and he never spoke, even after I asked him several times what he though.
Okay. So, and do you see the date on this email? Just above friends there.
I'm gonna object to this being characterized as an email.
I'll sustain that. Do you want to clarify, Mr. Farr, what type of communication it is?
Well, it's a communication to the friends of the church, and I think it's a text message.
I'm sorry.
I can. I believe it's a text message. Judge, I may have stated that it was an email.
Okay.
My apologies. So this text message went out to all of the friends in Salem Third Ward. It's an LDS ward over in the town of Salem, right?
I can't answer
I
that.
don't know. You know where the town of Salem is, right?
I do.
And that's a town that's close to Rexford?
Correct.
Okay. And obviously you can't answer that about the ward or anything like that, but obviously the term ward would suggest that it's some sort of a religious group of folks they're talking to, right?
Correct.
Okay. But this email doesn't say that she was shot with a gun, or there's even a mention of a gun. The email talks about a paintball.
Again, I'm going to object to characterization of this as an email. It needs to be
Text
separate.
message, judges, it's gonna be.
I'm sorry. We'll speak for
Yeah. When there's an objection, Mr. Dragon, gotta have time to get it on the record, make a ruling, and then respond, please. So sustained, this states the evidence.
Text.
I'm also going to object to this being described as a text message. There needs to be some foundation for what this evidence actually is.
Judge, I don't need a foundation. This has been admitted as an exhibit. This is
All right.
it.
I'll overrule that objection. Jury can review it in the format it came in with screen capture.
Okay. So at any rate, this message from Ms. Daybell to the people in the third ward doesn't say that it was a gun, does it?
Does say it's a gun, just says it's a paintball gun.
Oh, it says paintball gun. You're right. Okay. It doesn't say any other gun, right? If there's any confusion about that, right?
Not in this email or text.
Okay. Did you also have an occasion to look at I'll be bringing that up later, the search engine from Tammy Daybell's account?
No, I did not look at the search engine.
Were you aware that, and I'm gonna hack his name, but one of the officers, Officer K, whatever his name is, Officer K, was provided email, search information that Tammy Daybell engaged in regarding paintball guns in a picture. Are you aware of that?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'm asking whether he's aware of it.
Overruled.
Are you aware of it?
I was aware that he was provided information. I can't tell you exactly what information he was.
Okay, we'll get to that in another day. But did you also listen to the 911 call that was made regarding the paintball incident?
I did.
Okay, and there was no mention of a gun in that 911 call, right?
No.
The mention in the 911 call is that someone took a shot at me or tried to take a shot with a paintball gun, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so the suggestion today that it was a gun is based on your own hunch, right?
No, sir.
Well, do you have the gun?
I have evidence of Google searches done by Alex Cox around that time.
Okay. Do you have information as to where Alex Cox was at the time of this alleged shooting?
Yes, sir.
You do have evidence of that?
He was at the Daybell residence earlier that day.
I didn't ask you on the day of the Daybell residence at the time of this shooting. And do you recall when this shooting took place?
I believe it was maybe 8 in the evening, maybe.
Right. And let's clarify this because the data that you have regarding him being at the residence was much earlier in the day, right?
That's correct.
And you don't have any data that shows that Alex Cox's phone dinged or any other communication device that Alex Cox had was at the location of the house at the time of this paintball incident, do you?
At the time, no, sir.
Okay. And so at this point, the information you're talking about is there's some Google searches by Alex Cox, correct?
That's correct.
And the information is that you've decided to not take into consideration Tammy Daybell's own statement about a paintball gun?
Objection, misstates his testimony.
Sustained. So what other information are you leaning on to suggest that this was anything but a paintball gun?
The Google searches performed by Alex Cox talked about shooting through Dodge Dakota.
Okay. And I appreciate that. that would be one of Chad and Tammy Daybell's vehicles. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, were you aware of who was driving the Dodge Dakota at the time that incident took place?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you talk to any of the family members, any of the 4 children about who was actually the driver of this Dodge Dakota that Alex Cox was trying to figure out a way to shoot through?
We attempted to contact those children and they wouldn't speak with us.
Okay, so you don't know whether Chad Daybell or Tammy Daybell were driving that Dodge Dakota, right?
That's correct.
So the reality is that Tammy Daybell was driving the Dodge Dakota. It sounds like Alex Cox had something for Tammy Daybell. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just simply stating what Mr. Cox's Google searches were around the time of that shooting.
Okay, and you're basing those Google searches on your position that you believe this was a shooting, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so if Chad Daybell was driving the Dodge Dakota during this time, and he was the primary driver and maybe the only driver, would that mean then you would be looking at whether Alex Cox was trying to shoot Chad Daybell?
Chad Daybell didn't call in a 911 call and said he was shot at. Tammy Daybell.
Yeah, but Tammy Daybell called in a 911 call about a paintball gun. And it was a paintball gun. And we'll have Officer Cannon talk about that. And we'll listen to the 911 call.
Objection, that's not a question.
Well, the question is,
Mr. Pryor, again, you've got to give me an opportunity to rule an objection. If it is sustained, let's just argue it's not a question. You can ask another question.
the shooting and the call that was taking place was in reference to a paintball gun incident, wasn't it?
Can you repeat the question, sir? I couldn't hear you.
The call that was made regarding this incident was a 911 call about a paintball incident, wasn't it? They used the words paintball in the 911 call.
That's correct.
We'll move on. Okay. Now, we previously talked about, and Judge, I don't know when you want to stop. I've got a ways to go.
I think this probably is a good time for the lunch break, even the time. So we will take our lunch recess. That will be an hour. We'll plan on coming back on for additional testimony around 10 and a quarter after 1.
All rise, please.
Okay, you guys, I'm not going to sit here and wait. I will come back. So we will end this morning session.